Good afternoon and welcome to today's rededication ceremony at the City of Edmonton Cenotaph as we recognize the contributions of the thousands of Canadians who served in Afghanistan. This cenotaph was unveiled in 1936 to honor the thousands from the Edmonton area who paid the ultimate sacrifice in World War I. Over the past 85 years, so many more have been honored as World War II and Korea were added to the cenotaph. We do so again today with Afghanistan, paying tribute to the more than 40,000 Canadian Armed Forces members who served in Canada's longest war ever, and the 158 who died during the mission. We begin today's rededication ceremony with the piling of the drums. For centuries, regiments would use bugles, drums, and colors in the battlefield. And as time went on, those colors, or flags, would have the regiment battle honors emblazoned on them and also on the drums. Both are revered, reflecting a regiment's most significant wartime achievements and sacrifice, and a link to those who have served before. Over the years, when in the field, on deployments or lengthy training exercises, the drums would be used for memorials and non-denominational church services. Piling the drums would provide an improvised altar, and also regimental colors would be draped over the drums. Today, the Loyal Edmonton Regiment has kindly provided their regimental drums in honor of all of those who sacrificed. COVID restrictions don't allow us a color party or a national flag party.
Inwards, turn. Drummers prepare to pile. Drums. Pile. Drums. Act 10. Shut. Right, turn. Quick, march.
I'd now like to ask the Vigil party to take its place at the cenotaph. Our Cenotaph sentries today are Vigil Commander Sergeant James Pantal, Master Corporal Walter Marshall, Corporal Philip Post, Corporal Michael Clark, and Corporal Patrick Garcia. The City of Edmonton acknowledges the traditional land on which we reside is Treaty 6 territory. We would like to thank the diverse Indigenous peoples whose ancestors' footsteps have marked this territory for centuries, such as the Cree, Dene, Anishinaabe, Nakota Iska, and Blackfoot peoples. We also acknowledge that this is Métis homeland and the home of one of the largest communities of Inuit south of the 60th parallel. It is a welcoming place for all peoples who come from around the world to share Edmonton as a home. Together, we call on all of our collective, honored traditions and spirits to work in building a great city for today and future generations. Please stand for O Canada. That fly past was conducted by members of 408 Tactical Helicopter Squadron with the Royal Canadian Air Force based here at Edmonton Garrison. Personnel from 408 Tactical Helicopter Squadron deployed to Afghanistan nearly continuously from 2006 to 2011, and a majority of the crew in today's flight past served in Afghanistan. Please be seated. A warm welcome today to our families of the fallen, Darcia Arndt and Sarah Keller. Joining us live at the Edmonton Cenotaph is Mayor Don Iveson, Lieutenant Colonel Will Patton, and Padre Larry Wright. I'd also like to welcome all of you joining us across the country on the live stream of today's event. My name is Jalen Nye. I am Honorary Colonel of 408 Tactical Helicopter Squadron, patron of the Edmonton Garrison Military Family Resource Center, and I host a radio show on 630 CHED here in Edmonton. And today I am honored to be your MC. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to welcome Enoch Elder Bob Cardinal, who honors this event with an opening blessing.
I'd like to give thanks at this time to Judy from City Hall to give me this honor to be able to say this prayer for the people that lost their lives in the Afghanistan war, and that we can still enjoy, this life, this freedom that we have. So I want to ask special blessings for all those that they've left also. So I'd like to say this, my language, a prayer, and I'll begin. Ha pianaskutid mamutai mau simanto. Kiagati pechigi na mapmatsu ni goad Cenotaph. Wapnanis nanota ichmaksia, tabiganito ichmaksia. Ha minosti maskats na matnota. Isagita kainando tibna, minota wikas, kapsnamaten, minota migon. Ha pianaskuti na tanistam tmaksin magoik skate man kigoy. Kaya kapiwani tamo, nista one to tim. Kiga wisto. Kami mam tinita ke wisto tenismaksak. Pianas kotaman. Ikte wisto akan to wisto ka sisigo. Kigama. Ikte ka nakatahe ke Kristo. Wiga magro chwasem sono so kakyo sa kihagan wisto kapeswin kosik wisto. Minota kakyo nistanan. Kapeswin kosia nistanan. Kihapets makimiwa pata mao maskip matsuan. Kihapets manakapitagag nauga. Minota pisam kapisage wiroti sa agastinok. Nanaska makimiwan skaya samina. Minoti apitagis ganik tinotagotayokan kakyo skuak. Chwasam sinanak, nosam nanak chapanak. Kakyo wisto kapiswin kosik wisto. Minoti paksumota, kista kapia pianik tiagamau peso. Tanti kista kamamutao hesimanto. Minego anampi. Nisnan kiang kami waskoweta miumap matsuan. Kai kapiwanitama minanigom skausiwan sa aktihiwan. Pianas kotaman. Minoti ksenoyoten. Kista higuatsien namusom, higuatsien. Misona kapiwan skayan mananista. Imam tinim tan manto. Isagitan manto. Imam tinim tan manakapiwan skayan. Kapitsimagi ministota. Piata kapimotianista. Mina kakyo gayapik. Pianas kotaman kista. Mino masaktihiwan. Iguama kiam wisto kapiswin kosta kwisto. Kakyon totimak kwisto. Kigo ta kapipoksita ke kwisto ten totimak. We see the monan. Aksitama uma kapimspuim na panista nagamon. Hay giton pinas kotin. Minotas ko tayo kan naskamo. Wista kapiwan skat wistota. Iwan nagamon wista manto. Ay gani kamam tima ke Kristo kiti wisto kalano tonto ko Kristo. Ekti kaunya sa Kristo totima Kristo. Kaya kapeswin ko sa Kristo. Tsmagim na nota. Ikana kamam timi sa Kristo, kamam trimi sa Kristo. Ekti Afghanistan kasi gata mabuti ka na unto sa iwan sa Kristo. Ikuti amaga kam bisang ko sa Kristo. Magim na. Way, Hey. Thank you. Yes, and
Thank you, Elder Cardinal. 2021 marks the 20th anniversary of the beginning of Canada's dangerous and deadly mission in Afghanistan. It was only 4 months after the first Canadian soldiers put their boots on the ground in Afghanistan that Canada suffered its first loss. April 17th, 2002, 4 Edmonton-based soldiers with the 3rd Battalion, Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry, were killed. They were the first Canadian soldiers to die in Afghanistan, the first to die in a combat role since the Korean War, and unfortunately, they weren't the last. 158 soldiers, 1 journalist, 2 civilian contractors, and a diplomat lost their lives during the 13-year mission. More than 2,000 were injured. So many of our fallen and injured called the Edmonton area home. While all of their deaths rocked this country, they also brought Canada together in acknowledging the need to support our soldiers and our military families. We saw that support firsthand right here in Edmonton as people tied yellow ribbons around trees and gathered on overpasses and on the side of highways to welcome troops home time and time again. While those yellow ribbons may be long gone, this cenotaph becomes a touchstone, the permanent collection to this important part of our recent past, an enduring symbol of legacy, of service and sacrifice of more than 40,000 Canadian troops and their families. I'd now like to welcome Her Honor, the Honourable Salma Lakhani, Lieutenant Governor of Alberta, to say a few words. Your Honour.
Hello, everyone. It is my sincere honor to join in this special ceremony in remembrance of those who gave their lives in the war in Afghanistan. By adding Afghanistan's fallen to the Edmonton Cenotaph, we are ensuring that their invaluable service will continue to be celebrated today and for generations to come. It is essential that we remember the sacrifices made throughout Canada's mission in Afghanistan, as well as the terrible toll it took on far too many servicemen and women and their families. For 12 years, we watched as wave after wave of Canadian Forces personnel departed for service in Afghanistan. We prayed for their safety as they worked to assist people in need and to help quell the violence of a nation in turmoil. We mourned each and every Canadian who fell, and we wrapped our arms around the families they left behind, doing whatever we could to support them through their difficult journey. Although the mission has ended, the effects of the war for far too many continue today. There are still veterans among us who battle with physical and mental scars. They and their families deserve our ongoing understanding and support. There are also families and friends among us who continue to mourn a fallen hero, and they need our love and understanding as well. I hope that all those who visit the Cenotaph will be inspired to reflect on the terrible sacrifices made by our fallen. I also trust that we will each commit to doing whatever we can to honor their vision of a better and a safer world for all people. As Her Majesty the Queen's representative in Alberta, I offer my heartfelt gratitude to all of our veterans and current serving members of the Canadian Forces. Please know that your fellow Canadians are deeply grateful for all that you have given on our behalf. To everyone at Edmonton City Hall, thank you for your ongoing dedication to honoring our fallen and to preserving our city's proud military traditions. Finally, to families of the fallen, I offer my heartfelt condolences for your terrible loss, along with my promise that your loved ones will not be forgotten. While nothing can take away your pain, I hope that you find some comfort in the knowledge that their legacies will endure through this cenotaph and in the hearts and minds of all Edmontonians. Thank you all. Please stay well, and may our heroes rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Captain retired Rick Dumas is a military veteran of 42 years with Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry. He was commissioned from the ranks and served on 6 overseas missions and 5 domestic operations. Rick has been invested into the Order of Military Merit, been awarded the Sovereign's Medal for Volunteers, the Vice-Regal Commendation, and the Minister of Veterans Affairs Commendation. His community and civic volunteerism is extensive, including being a member of the Cenotaph Rededication Committee.
Today, we recognize a comprehensive and dynamic military operation spanning more than a decade. This historic rededication signals that the people of this city stand with all those who served as soldiers first and as ambassadors of justice and hope in Afghanistan. Those who entered the fray and fought terror and tyranny with their very lives, loosened the grip of oppression, bringing Afghans hope, and worked to restore global certainty from the dust clouds of 9/11. This, I believe, is our legacy as veterans, whether soldiers and special forces in combat, provincial reconstruction teams building communities, military police and RCMP working hand in hand with Afghan National Police, mentors and trainers working from within to build up the Afghan National Army, special advisors providing strategic assistance to Afghan leaders, or the many Canadian civilians supporting our morale and welfare in and out of theater every step of the way. For all of us veterans, this story is very personal and real. We lost friends and colleagues. Many are battle-scarred. We left loved ones at home or kept vigil here while others deployed. We made lasting friendships among the Afghan people. Today, we're not just marking a chapter in history, we're strengthening a connection between past to present, between peoples who believe in justice and goodwill, a connection present with the many Edmontonians who support our veteran community through the Veterans Association's Food Bank, Homes for Heroes, and Valor Place, etc. Afghanistan, as now engraved on this cenotaph, is recognized as a battle honor in many military units, a visible gesture that the torch is ours to hold, that we have not broken faith with those that have died, and that others may continue to sleep where poppies grow in Flanders fields. 2 of my sons served in Afghanistan, and as each of us deployed, we carried messages passed from brother to brother, son to father, father to son, inside our helmets, a thread of encouragement, protection, and hope. This cenotaph, first dedicated 85 years ago, is Edmonton's message to all who have served and have sacrificed so much. Thank you. It's a poignant call to solidarity and remembrance as we approach the 20th anniversary of a war that has impacted so many. May we always remember.
Thank you, Rick. Recently, I asked our Memorial Cross families to provide a few thoughts on their loved ones and the importance of today's rededication ceremony. Darcia Arndt is the widow of Master Corporal Ray Arndt, and she says, attending today's Cenotaph rededication ceremony and representing the families of the fallen from the Afghanistan war is very special and important for a number of reasons. My husband, Master Corporal Ray Arndt, joined the Loyal Edmonton Regiment in 2000. We met at a Loyal Edmonton Regimental Association dinner late October 2003. And our first official date was a couple of weeks later in this very place on Remembrance Day. I've attended Remembrance Day here with the Loyal Edmonton Regiment every year since. Ray was killed in Afghanistan on August 5th, 2006. And for the last 14 years, I have laid a wreath at this cenotaph on Remembrance Day, sharing that honor with the family of Corporal Joshua Baker of the Loyal Edmonton Regiment. Corporal Baker was killed in Afghanistan on February 12, 2010. The community I call home This community has shown our military and military families so much over the years. And rededicating this cenotaph, recognizing the contributions of our military in Afghanistan, is just one example of that support. I will always be grateful, forever loved, never forgotten. Thank you for those words, Darcia. In her notes to share with you today, Sarah Keller says the rededication of this cenotaph serves to honor the memory of Corporal Bryce Keller and acknowledges the contribution of all of our armed forces members who served in Afghanistan, most especially those who did not return and those who were forever changed by that service. Sarah says, in a busy and complex world, our collective memory as a society can often be short. Monuments such as this one gives us a tangible way to remember and honor our past long into our future. It becomes a place for us to pause amid our hectic lives and be physically present with our history, to reflect and to remember. I am thankful that this history of service and the sacrifices made by our armed forces during the war in Afghanistan will remain as a part of our shared memories here in the city of Edmonton, lest we forget. Thank you for those words, Sarah, and for your service as well. And the family of Corporal Zach McCormack says it is extremely honored to be a part of the rededication of the cenotaph to include the Afghanistan conflict, and would like to thank the city of Edmonton for recognizing and planning this event today. The McCormacks write, November 11th is the day our country has set aside to honor Canada's fallen soldiers, a tradition observed since the end of the First World War. But for the family of a fallen soldier, it's not a one-day ritual of remembrance. It is a daily event. Our only son, Corporal Zachary McCormack, gave his life in defense of our country's freedom on December 30th, 2009. Since then, our family has worked to keep Zach's memory alive. We do that both publicly and privately, from the events we attend, sharing Zach's story, to building generational memories for his nephews so they will know him as well. The McCormacks go on to say, it is our duty and our privilege to plant as many seeds of Zach's memory as we can. There is a quote that says, to live in the hearts of those you leave behind is not to die. This is our hope for the memory of Zach, now and well into the future. Thank you as well to the McCormack family for those words. And thank you to all of our Memorial Cross families. Your strength, your courage, your grace under pressure will never be forgotten. We promise to remember them. These words from the families of the fallen bring home the importance of why we're here today. Our next speaker, Councillor John Zadok, is Vice Chair of the Edmonton Salutes Committee and a member of the Military Reserve. Elected as a councillor for Ward 3 in 2017, he is a strong supporter of our military community and worked to rename a portion of 97th Street as Canadian Armed Forces Trail in honor of those who serve. He shares his thoughts on today's rededication.
Today we are rededicating a monument that tells an important story. It's a story of war and sacrifice, and of peace and safety. It's a story that is relevant to every generation living today, and a story that needs to be passed along from generation to generation. I serve as a member of the Military Reserve because I believe in this story and that it needs to be told. As a councillor, I am grateful for the work of the Edmonton Salutes Committee, who continue to tell this story, and for the Edmontonians who came forward and worked to make this rededication a reality. Today we are officially recognizing Afghanistan as part of our city's story of military service and sacrifice. The engraving, just 11 letters long, sends a message of gratitude, comfort, and condolence from the hearts of Edmontonians to the families and loved ones of those who made the ultimate sacrifice. But it does more than that. It imprints this important reminder into our everyday life. The location of the Edmonton Cenotaph, here in the center of our city square in the heart of downtown, is fitting and powerful. As we emerge from our pandemic and begin to gather again, it's a location where people from all walks of life will cross paths. On their way to work, or taking in a festival, meeting a friend, pausing to listen to the music in the square, eating a lunch in a moment of quiet, or playing with their kids in the sunshine. In this place, where we live our lives and gather freely, the Cenotaph inscription with Afghanistan is a poignant reminder to pause and give thanks, to remember every day, to talk with each other and learn more about the world, to stop for a moment of reflection. To the family and friends of our fallen in Afghanistan, may these letters engraved in the heart of our city bring you some peace and comfort. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
Thank you, Councillor Zadek. Born into a military family in 1972, Brigadier General Bill Fletcher joined the Canadian Forces in 1989 as a private. He enrolled into the infantry with the regular force in May 1990. After graduating from the Royal Military College in 1995, he joined 2nd Battalion, Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry, and spent much of his career in operational staff and command positions. He deployed first to Bosnia-Herzegovina in 1997 and subsequently Afghanistan in 2006, where he commanded C Company of the 1st Battalion PPCLI and was awarded the Star of Military Valor for repeatedly demonstrating extraordinary bravery. His command positions included commanding 1st Battalion PPCLI, 1 Canadian Mechanized Brigade Group, and deputy commanding general operations for the 18th U.S. Airborne Corps. Brigadier General Fletcher took command of 3rd Canadian Division and Joint Task Force West on August 14, 2020, and proudly serves as Deputy President of the Guard. General Fletcher.
Thank you, Jaylyn. The year is 2001. Our U.S. allies have suffered a devastating loss in New York, the cry of which echoes north. We are grieving, and we want to help our friends in their time of need, because that is what Canada does. The first of us leave within months. The war in Afghanistan will be the first significant Canadian combat engagement since the Korean War. 50 years of our soldiers being known internationally as peacekeepers evaporates in the blink of an eye. No one was truly prepared for the 12 years that would follow. Canada joined the NATO-mandated mission in Afghanistan in October 2001 and supported the UN's multinational military efforts there until March 2014. In the end, over 40,000 Canadian Armed Forces members, as well as hundreds of civilians and government officials, served in Afghanistan. 158 Canadian Armed Forces members made the ultimate sacrifice. Thousands more are injured, physically and psychologically, during the mission. In all of this, the City of Edmonton held a unique position. Members of the 1st Canadian Mechanized Brigade Group, which is headquartered here at CFB Edmonton, were involved in every rotation of soldiers during the war, from Operation Apollo in 2002 through the last Operation Attention Task Force that returned in 2014. During those rotations, they were augmented by members of 41 Canadian Brigade Group, Alberta's own reserve force soldiers. You said goodbye to us and shared our tears. You greeted those returning with joy. You sheltered our families and provided them the community they needed most while their hearts were spread across the world. When some of those hearts were broken with grief, you gave them a safe place to mend. While we were serving halfway around the world, our thoughts were of home and of Edmonton. In 2002, following the first Canadian casualties of the war, members of the 3rd Battalion Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry built a memorial at Kandahar Airfield to commemorate our fallen. On it, they placed an inukshuk constructed out of 8 slabs of rock gathered from the area. The inukshuk was oriented so that it pointed in one direction, towards Edmonton, the home station of 3 PPCLI. Since then, the inukshuk memorial has grown and is now preserved at the Embassy of Canada in Afghanistan. It still points the way home. Today, this city continues to honor and support Afghanistan veterans, those friends and neighbors that are still serving. Many remember because we were there. Our families remember because they were here. Our veterans that have chosen to make Edmonton their home remember, here, there, and places in between. With the rededication of the City of Edmonton Cenotaph, those that come after us will always know that our service to our nation is at the core of everything that we do and everything we are. For the soldiers we lost, on behalf of the ones who are still here, thank you for choosing to honor the commitment and sacrifice of Canadians who served in Afghanistan and the support provided to them by Canadians at home. Soldiers never know how long our stay in Edmonton will be, but The understanding, warmth, and kindness of this community always welcomes us, like an Inukshuk pointing the way home. Thank you.
And thank you, General Fletcher. I am pleased to welcome Mayor Donna Iveson to bring words of support from the City of Edmonton. Mayor Iveson has a profound respect and admiration for Edmonton's military community. Through his leadership, he has worked to welcome and support military members and their families as members of our community, most notably those veterans who are facing challenges in life. It is his deepest wish that all of those who proudly served and sacrificed for our country have the stability, support, respect, and dignity they deserve and need. Mayor Iveson. Yeah.
So good afternoon. Today is a day of remembrance. It's a day to look back, to honor the memory of those who were called to bring hope, safety, and peace to this world. And as Edmontonians and Canadians, to offer our gratitude. It's also a day to stand with those who yet mourn, for us to give comfort to the Arndts and the Kellers and the McCormicks and all the other families who may still be hurting, but I hope find some healing today. Today, as Edmontonians, once again, as we do so well, we hold close our neighbors and our friends who lost family, friends, and colleagues in Afghanistan. Those whose hearts and spirits continue to bend under the burden of loss, as well as those who yet bear the scars of that conflict and that trauma. I will never forget, just over 7 years ago, in the early time my stint as mayor, I had a number of opportunities to greet some of the final troops who were returning home from Afghanistan. It was emotional even now to think about. Witnessing partners reunited, parents lifting their children into their arms, family and friends embracing in relief and in joy, and a whole city seemingly laying out a yellow carpet of ribbons and welcome and solidarity. Truly a beautiful homecoming, but also a sober reminder of the ones who were missing, who did not come back. The chairs that would forever remain empty around dinner tables across this country, but especially in this city. As mayor, I am grateful for those who have worked through the years to support all of those families through all of those struggles and the triumphs and the resilience made possible by this extraordinary community of support. From the Military Family Resource Center to Valor Place to the housing initiatives to support veterans, we are all working together in Edmonton to ensure that we never forget. And so my very special thanks today to Lieutenant Colonel Patton for honoring the memories of the wounded soldiers who he treated in Afghanistan each and every day. And to his partner Carolyn, who's been a relentless champion, to Jay Lynn and others who've been remarkable to work with, to the folks on Edmonton Salutes, Brian Hodgson, Councillor Zadok, all of the other volunteers, the protocol office at the City of Edmonton, Judy and the team that supports this critical work. My thanks. On a personal note, And today is not about me, but this may well be the last time I get to wear the chain of office in an official capacity. And it's heavier than it looks, literally and figuratively. Figuratively, though, especially when offering gratitude and the act of remembrance, most of you will know, but sadly still most Edmontonians don't realize that the insignia on this chain of office are the cap badges of the 408s, the PPCLIs, the LERs, the South Albertas, all the units we've heard today, and many others who over the years have gone to war, fought for peace, for this city and this country. I just want you to know it's been a tremendous honor to wear it at each of those acts of remembrance, including today. I will remember. Edmonton remembers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Iveson. I'd now like to invite Memorial Cross recipients Darcia Arndt and Sarah Keller, along with Mayor Iveson and Lieutenant Colonel Will Patton, to move to the Cenotaph for the unveiling. If I could get you to take your seats. Now Darcia Arndt, Sarah Keller, along with Lieutenant Colonel Will Patton, will lay a wreath at the Cenotaph on behalf of the families of the fallen and all of those who served in Afghanistan, like Lieutenant Colonel Patton. Lieutenant Colonel Patton has served with the Canadian Armed Forces for 21 years. He was the officer commanding and chief trauma team leader of the NATO Rule 3 Hospital in Kandahar, Afghanistan in 2008, where he led the medical team to care for very seriously injured NATO and Afghan patients during the course of their tour. At the time, it was the busiest trauma center on the planet. Will is currently the National Medical Advisor to the Director of Health Services Reserve, Canadian Forces Health Services Headquarters, and a trauma physician at the University of Alberta Hospital. Through Will's advocacy with the City of Edmonton, he brought forward the idea to ensure Afghanistan was inscribed on the City Hall Cenotaph. The process started in 2019, and here we are today. We will now begin the most solemn part of today's ceremony, the act of remembrance. The last post will be played by South Alberta Light Horse Regimental Bugler, Warrant Officer Dave Burt. He will be playing the Mons Bugle. This bugle was played at the First World War armistice ceremony at Mons, Belgium on November 11th, 1918. After being separated from its soldier and its regiment for decades, it was later discovered and at last brought home to the Loyal Edmonton Regiment Museum at the Prince of Wales Armoury. Traditionally signaling the end of the day, the last post is played to serve as a tribute to the dead. 1 minute of silence will follow the last post. The silence serves as both a reminder of the significance of today's ceremony and a sign of respect for those at home and abroad who have served in times of war. The silence will be broken by the playing of the lament by Loyal Edmonton Regiment Piper Warrant Officer Lance McFadden. Finally, Rouse will be played to signify waking up to a new day. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand. The last post followed by 1 minute of silence and the lament. Please be seated. Major retired, the Reverend Larry Wright began his military career in 1987. Reverend Wright deployed to Bosnia-Herzegovina in 2002 and to Afghanistan from February to August 2006. He finished his military service as the brigade chaplain of one Canadian mechanized brigade group and retired in 2010. Since that time, he has served as the minister of Spirit West United Church in Edmonton. Reverend Wright.
Thank you, Jilin. For thousands of years, people have built monuments and memorials to commemorate significant people and events in the life of their communities. These monuments stand to remind us of the stories of our past, stories of inspiration and heroism, stories of tragedy and pain. This cenotaph was first dedicated in August 1936 to honor the sacrifice of those whose lives were cut short in the horrors of the Great War. We have come to call that war the Second World War because within 3 years of the dedication of this cenotaph, the world was at war again. And since that time, more inscriptions have been added, with more stories to tell. Today we rededicate this cenotaph with the unveiling of the inscription for Afghanistan. And today you have heard some of our stories of that war. But these monuments only fulfill their true purpose if we all know their stories, can learn from them, and share them with succeeding generations. When a child stands in this square and points to this cenotaph and says to you, "What's that?" will you know the stories you need to tell? May this memorial be a reminder to all of the ultimate price paid by men and women of this city and the world in the pursuit of justice, peace, and freedom. May its presence here in the heart of our city serve as a call to duty and service, whether on the field of battle or as engaged citizens in our communities, with a commitment to those same ideals. So let us rededicate this cenotaph to honor those who died or suffered on our behalf in times of war and conflict, as we continue to strive for a better world for all. And may the God who dances in creation, who embraces us with human love, who shakes our lives like thunder, bless us and drive us out with power to fill the world with justice and peace. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Wright. Over the past few weeks, Edmontonians have been asked to write a message of remembrance on some maple leaf cards that you'll soon see. These cards and their messages will be archived by the City of Edmonton for future generations. I'd like to once again call upon our unveiling party to place them at the base of the Cenotaph. I'd like to ask everyone now to please stand for God Save the Queen. Please be seated. This brings to a conclusion today's event. Thank you to the South Alberta Light Horse Bugle Player, Warrant Officer Dave Burt, and Loyal Edmonton Regiment Piper, Warrant Officer Lance McFadden, and our Cenotaph sentries. Thank you to the Cenotaph Rededication Committee, the Citizen Committee, which was honored to lead the efforts for the Afghanistan inscription on the Cenotaph, and creating this ceremony recognizing the sacrifice of the fallen from the Afghanistan Conflict 2001 through 2014. The committee is led by City of Edmonton Chief Protocol Officer Judy Wilson, Rosa Parlin, the Executive Director of the Military Family Resource Centre, Carolyn Patton, Citizen Volunteer, and Alberta Chair of the Canadian Forces Liaison Council, and Captain Retired Rick Dumas. I'd like to ask the Vigil party to stand down. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today.
Guard! Present! Arms! Shoulder! Arms! Turn to the left. Left in! High! Marker! Dismount, Cenotaph. Quick! Arch!
Thank you.
Pick up. Drops. Act 10. Shut. Right.